Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Complaint Free Life with you, your host, Estelle Ormonova, now presenting from a new hotel. So, hence a background change. Anyway, the topic that I want to talk about today is how to deal with one of those days. I don't know how you describe one of those days that I will um, describe now in a minute. So you may have your own version of how you describe it, but I'm going to be talking about one of those days when you feel like you are working 24/7 on things that don't matter with people who don't really want to take responsibility or don't really care. Or no one seems to be taking responsibility, and in the end result happens in the way that whatever happens, and everyone's just so frustrated, and then you go home and you're like, oh, it's one of those days, right? So for me, that's the name of my days. Is I feel like some of the days when I have that, I feel like, oh, it's one of those days. And when we have those days, how can we not only stay frustrated and continue and keep having that frustration in our backpack, as if to say, or keep having that burden, but rather, how can we turn that around and do something about it? Because as you're probably hearing me say many times, that transition, when I talk about transition, people often believe that I am helping people to get out of their current situation, from a humanitarian to non-humanitarian world, which is not the case, not true. So my goal is to help people transition in their mindset wherever they are, if they want to stay where they are, if they want to move on to something else, or if they want to even find another position within the humanitarian field. My goal is to help them shift their mind in the way that help them feel fulfilled, living the life they want while doing that humanitarian work, and feeling like this is really what they want to do, and then they continue doing it, right? So that's why this might be for many people who are working in the humanitarian world, but also who are maybe transitioning outside. We will always probably have these times of periods where we feel like all the things that I'm doing does not really seem to matter, or I'm not really making the big impacts that I really want to make. I keep working and working. In the end, what's the point? How really it's impacting anyone's life, right? So when we have one of those days, what can we really do about it? Because oftentimes I feel like, also from my own experience, and I've also been coaching people on this topic a lot lately, where we feel like all we can do in those moments are feeling frustrated, and that's it. And then the next day, somehow we get up, we take a shower, and we feel like, okay, yesterday's day is over, and now we can just move on into other things, right? And in some ways maybe that's helpful, but I would really encourage you to consider why that may not be really a solution for every one of us in the long run. Because what happens is that whenever we do that, we just end up being frustrated, right? So, and once we're frustrated, if we don't really process it, meaning if we don't really allow those feelings to be there, then we will be just suppressing them. And then we will also be likely to telling our brain that we can't really process them. We don't really want to be feeling them. How can we avoid them? And then this is where we start overwatching Netflix, or overeating, or over drinking. We will keep likely to have this background noise of what's the point? It's not going to work anyway. Nothing works, right? So we tend to have this all black mindset. And also we are likely to lose our motivation, our belief in what we're doing, our belief in how we can make changes. That's why I really encourage people not to just stay in the frustration, because I think the frustration is a necessary part of it, and we need to pass through this to go to the other side. Because what frustration is essentially saying to us is that this is not how I want to be doing things, or this is not how I want to be functioning and contributing in the world, because I think we all have this inherent desire to contribute, to be useful, to be helpful to others, to make positive changes in lives of people, right? And whenever it's not working, what frustration is telling us really is that we are not maybe doing things in the way we want to, or we are not able to do that in the way we want to with people around us. So how can we go solve for it? And this is where it's very important that we always bring our minds, our mindset, after allowing those emotions to wash through us, and then allowing to sit with all of these frustrations. And after doing that, then I think it's important that we all ask ourselves the question of, how do I want to solve for it, or how do I want to contribute? The other way maybe you could look at it is also, what is within my control? How much can I change? How much can I create the result that I want to create? Right? Even if we believe that others are not doing what they're supposed to, or others are not helping, or they don't really care, or whatever our brain wants to say, all is bad, or all is, black, and all of this stuff, right? So whenever our brains want to say that, we really need to bring our brains to the constructive side of things and not just be black and white. I know my brain loves to do black and white so much, and I can so relate to this, but I have found over and over that if I let my brain black and white things a lot of the time, it just ends up creating this drama. It ends up creating this world where poor me and everyone else is bad, or poor me, I'm the only one who's trying to do something and everyone else isn't, kind of a picture, which is not true, right? But my brain wants to come to that a story, because I think it comes easy, if you know what I mean. So that's why when you feel that and you have this urge of wanting to, go into the black and white, and why everything's not going to work, and why this is not the case, and whatever, I really think the useful thing you can do in that moment is not to be just jumping into that boat and riding along as to how it's not going to work land, but rather go to the land of how much you can change yourself, how much you can actually do something with the resources, with the work that you can do, how much of it you can create yourself with people around you, in what way. So troubleshooting for how to solve that problem is so much, I don't know, more better use of our brain resources, I think, than anything else. Because what also tends to happen in those moments is that we tend to get into the in charge mode. We get into how else I can solve it, how else I can do something about it, what else I can do that. What would be the second best option that we could achieve, right? What could be the solution if the best solution is not available? So if we get our brains into that, then I feel like we will at least go home not feeling like another day of frustration, another day of nothing's happening. You see, everything doesn't work. Instead of, we go to bed next day knowing that, yes, I've seen that things didn't work that way. I have been very frustrated about it. I didn't like it. These are the ways I didn't like it, but these are the ways I also tried to fix it. or these are the ways I try to solve for it with these people, and this is the result that we've gotten. And I've been now realizing as I left humanitarian world and my entrepreneurial journey, right? In my journey of coaching, for instance, so many times I use that skill of solving problems, and so many times how to get back up after being frustrated, right? How to restart from failing, restore yourself from failing, because entrepreneurship, I think a lot of the times is all about failing and then learning from it and then continuing to move on. And if we are wanting those big results, big impact that we want in our workplaces, obviously starting that endeavor with it's not going to work, it's all frustrating, why bother? If we start with that energy, then obviously we're unlikely to get to where we want to, and then we are also going to create a lot of problems within our own minds, around us in the environment. We are likely to embark upon so many meetings that don't result in something, because we will be spreading probably also this energy of why bother, or energy of okay, we may as well try, but what's the point, right? You know, the one that I'm talking about. And then what I have also noticed that type of energy not only stays within us and paralyzes us, it also spreads around so much and tends to influence other people's opinions or other people's mood about what could be done about this problem. So that's why I feel like, you know, if we want to really, in the long run, in the short run, create the results that we want, I feel like these are the things that we can't really allow to keep happening, or we are, how should I say, we have no luxury to indulge in those things, I should say, right? So the one thing obviously is that self-pitying ourselves. The other is keep being frustrated about things. The other one that I can think of is losing belief every time, or from the beginning, or losing belief as soon as we have one failure, or losing belief that no one takes responsibility, so why bother? If we believe in general that all of this is not going to result in what we want anyway, so then if we have all of these, or I'm too busy for this, or I'm too busy to be thinking about things strategically, or I just don't have time and energy for this, so I may as well do just the best of what I have. If we start our goals of helping people, or our big goals of making changes in the long run, in the short run, if we start with these type of statements and beliefs and thoughts in our heads, then I don't think we will be achieving those impacts that we want. And think of this. Imagine someone out there who wants to guarantee 100% result for these people we are serving. So for instance, let's say that we are in an emergency or even non-emergency. We have clients, or we have people that we serve, right? So people who are affected by war, people who are affected by conflict, people who are affected by natural disasters, and they are on the move, they're displaced, they are needing help. And imagine there is always one or several institutions who wants to, and even strongly believes, to 100% guarantee that we get them the exact assistance they need in the exact moment they need. Imagine if we could guarantee that. And we could always start our goals and our endeavors of helping them from that starting point, right? From that starting point of, I'm going to 100% guarantee that help to that people in that time they needed. Imagine how much gratitude, how much, how shall I say, how much good we could create in the world. Them fully trusting that this is going to happen, us fully trusting that this is what we're going to deliver. We stand by our words, we stand by what we say we do, and we stand by how our abilities to create those results that we want to, and we can guarantee it. Imagine what kind of world we would create. And imagine what kind of teams we would have who are there at the start, ready to make that contribution, to make that result happen. And I know when I'm saying this, you may probably say, well, so obviously you live in an ideal world. In the real world, that never happens. Or in the real world, even if like whatever percentage was true, that would be already good. I know that we all have that skeptic antenna. I know that we all have frustrated experiences that probably don't allow us to come to that type of thinking. But I'm just thinking that if there are other services where 100% guarantee is available, that means it's doable. That means it's possible and other people are doing it, other teams are doing it. I myself, for instance, also, when I offer coaching to people for 1 year, right, to transition, make decision, sit with that decision and realize what you really want to do and then create that life for you. When I say that, I deliver for it and I 100% guarantee that we will get there. And if I can't get there, the result that I promised, I'm happy to return the money. This is the world that I'm living in with my coaches as well. And I want to contribute to that world. And I really truly believe that we can all do our part of guaranteeing those services, guaranteeing those results the way that we imagine they should be. We can all do it and play our part in doing it. But in order to do that, we may need to know how to deal with one of those days. And one of those days, we cannot just allow ourselves to be frustrated and to be just handing our hands in the air and say, well, we tried, nothing's going to work. Things that are just like the way they are. What can we do? Instead of, let's get to shifting our minds and transitioning in our minds a bit by bit to ask ourselves after the frustration, the next question, how do I want to contribute? How do I want to do my part 100%? How do I want to do in the way that brings the next best result, if not that result? How can I do my part to take full responsibility for creating the result my way if the other way does not work? How can I use those resources that I have available with those people whose geniuses are within them? How can we use all of that to create the result we want and deliver the help that is needed to the people who are direly needing help? How can we get them? And it may not work maybe the first time, the second time, but it definitely will work one of the times if we keep learning from it every time, instead of just indulging in frustrations, in exhaustions, or in overwhelm of how things are. And I'm not saying everyone is doing it, and I'm not saying that this is how the humanitarian world is, obviously. I'm just saying that if you are experiencing one of these, like I was experiencing in my non-humanitarian world, then you will know what to do. Okay, my friends, have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you. Bye.